Walk into an American grocery store and something feels off. Shelves are full, lights are bright, and the economy is functioning. Yet a normal cart can feel like a financial negotiation, with every aisle testing your attention and budget. The strange part is not one villain. It is a stack of legal incentives. Smaller packages, member prices, targeted offers, convenience fees, premium labels, subscriptions, and digital systems that can learn how you shop. You are about to see 15 patterns that make modern spending feel detached from common sense, grounded in public data and ordinary pricing logic you can verify for yourself. Start with what people hear when inflation cools. Prices are coming down. Usually, that is not what the data means. Lower inflation means prices are rising more slowly overall. It does not restore the old price level. In June 2026, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said grocery prices were still above a year earlier, while food away from home had risen faster. Monthly inflation can cool while the bill stays high. This is the first absurdity. Households live with price levels while headlines discuss rates of change. If the grocery bill jumped over several years and then rises only a little this month, the pressure did not vanish. Think of a staircase. Inflation is your climbing speed. The price level is the floor you reached. Slowing down does not send you downstairs. That basic distinction explains a huge amount of public frustration. People can hear that inflation is easing and still feel squeezed. Rent, food, insurance, utilities, and services may remain far above what they remember. Wages may rise too, but households do not experience every change equally. Official statistics are not fake because they miss one family's receipt. They measure broad averages. Your basket differs by location, diet, family size, driving, housing, and how often you eat away from home. The answer is to read the data correctly. Slower inflation can be good news while living costs still hurt. Both can be true without contradiction too. Then comes the product that looks familiar until you pick it up. Same shelf position. Similar package. Similar price. Less inside. That is shrinkflation, and unlike some internet myths, it is a real measurable pricing practice documented by the Government Accountability Office. The agency defines downsizing as reducing quantity without a matching price cut. That raises the unit price even if the sticker price barely moves. The trick works because shoppers tend to remember what a package looks like more easily than its exact weight or count. Government analysis found that downsizing added only a small amount to overall inflation because most consumer spending cannot be shrunk like a cereal box. In categories where downsizing was more common, however, its price effect was more visible. Go found impacts varied by category. Shrinkflation matters, but it can't explain the full inflation story. That nuance matters. Shrinkflation is real, but it is not a complete explanation for the entire inflation episode. Blaming every price increase on smaller packages would be false. Ignoring the practice because it is not the main inflation driver would be equally foolish. The business logic is easy to understand. When input, labor, transport, or financing costs rise, a producer can raise the visible shelf price, reduce the amount in the package, reformulate the product, or use some combination of those choices. A smaller package can protect a familiar price point. From the seller's view, that may reduce sticker shock. From the shopper's view, it can feel like a stealth increase because the comparison requires remembering an old size that is no longer sitting beside the new one. The cruelest part is that packaging can preserve the visual impression of abundance. A box can stay tall. A bottle can keep its silhouette. Empty space, thicker plastic, deeper indentations, or altered dimensions can make a reduction harder to notice at a glance. Federal packaging rules do restrict deceptive labeling and misleading slack fill in certain circumstances, but they do not freeze package sizes forever. Companies are generally allowed to sell a smaller legal quantity if the net contents are disclosed accurately. So the defense is boring but powerful. Stop comparing only the front of package price. Check weight, count, and unit price. If a product quietly drops in size while staying near the same sticker price, you are not imagining the increase. You are paying more per usable unit. And once people learn that trick, the next problem appears. Even when the package size is printed correctly, the shelf itself can make comparison harder than it needs to be. Unit pricing should be one of the simplest consumer protections ever invented. Instead of asking whether a larger bottle is cheaper, you compare the price per ounce, pound, count, or other common unit. Suddenly, the fancy package has nowhere to hide. The United States does not apply one identical national unit pricing rule everywhere. The National Institute of Standards and Technology publishes model rules and best practices, while requirements vary by state and jurisdiction. That means the tiny shelf number shoppers rely on can be more consistent in one place than another. Some stores provide useful unit prices voluntarily. Others may use different units across similar products, making the comparison possible but annoyingly slow. Consider two detergents. One shelf tag uses price per fluid ounce. Another emphasizes total price. A third product is concentrated and promises more loads from less liquid. Now the supposedly simple task becomes a small math problem performed while someone is blocking the aisle. This is where packaging size becomes a weapon of confusion without anyone needing to lie. A jar can be taller but narrower. A family pack can contain more total product but still cost more per unit. A multi-pack can look economical while charging a convenience premium. The word value is especially slippery. A larger package is not automatically a better value. A sale package is not automatically cheaper per unit. And a warehouse-size item is not a bargain if half of it expires, goes stale, or sits unused. Retailers and manufacturers know that most people do not conduct a forensic audit beside the cereal. They are shopping after work, watching children, answering messages, remembering dinner, and trying to leave. Complexity has an economic advantage when attention is scarce. That does not make every confusing label malicious. Grocery retail is messy. Sizes, formulations, taxes, promotions, and local rules differ. But the result is still the same for the consumer. The person who compares carefully can pay materially less for the same basic function. One practical rule cuts through the noise. Compare the unit that actually matters to you. For paper goods, that may be sheets or area. For coffee, ounces may help. For detergent, loads can matter if dosing claims are comparable. Never assume the biggest package wins, and just when you think the shelf tag is the price, the store gives you another number in brighter print. Available only if you hand over a phone number, open an account, clip a digital coupon, or scan an app. Member pricing has turned a basic grocery trip into a two-tier experience. There is the price printed for everyone, and there is the better price for people enrolled in the store's loyalty system. Sometimes the gap is small. Sometimes skipping enrollment feels like a penalty. Loyalty programs can genuinely save money. They can also generate valuable data about what you buy, when you buy it, which offers move you, and how frequently you return. The discount is not necessarily free. Part of the exchange can be information and repeat business. There is nothing inherently sinister about a store rewarding regular customers. The uncomfortable part is how normalized the trade has become. A person who wants the advertised-looking discount may need to identify themselves first, even for ordinary food and household goods. That creates a quiet inequality of attention. The organized shopper loads the app, activates offers, remembers the account, checks expiration dates, and receives the lower price. The rushed shopper buys the same item in the same store and may pay more. Digital coupons intensify the effect. Paper coupons were annoying, but visible. App coupons can be scattered across categories, personalized, limited by account, and easy to miss. Saving money begins to resemble administrative work performed by the customer for free. Some people enjoy the game, others hate it. Either way, the system teaches shoppers that the posted price may not be the real price, the sale price may require membership, and the best price may require one more tap before checkout. The Federal Trade Commission has examined a broader market in which consumer data can help shape targeted prices, promotions, or product presentation. Its staff found that intermediaries can use information such as location, browsing activity, shopping history, and other behavioral signals. That does not mean every loyalty program secretly gives each shopper a unique price. It means individualized commerce is technically possible, and the line between loyalty discounts, targeted promotions, and personalized pricing can be hard to see. The old grocery bargain was simple. The shelf shows a price, you decide whether to pay it. The new bargain can be identify yourself, accept the terms, carry the app, activate the offer, and then discover whether your version of the price is competitive. When access to basic savings depends on data, software, passwords, and attention, the grocery store stops being just a market. It becomes a small digital platform, and that leads directly to a stranger possibility. Two people may not always be shown the same commercial reality. Personalized pricing sounds like science fiction until you read what regulators are studying. The Federal Trade Commission has described a market where data intermediaries help businesses tailor prices, discounts, rankings, or offers using detailed information about consumers and their behavior. The agency's study did not prove that every retailer uses individualized prices. But the documents showed that these tools exist, firms market them, and detailed consumer data can be used to segment customers. A modern shopping system can potentially observe location, device, browsing path, abandoned carts, purchase history, loyalty status, timing, and responses to earlier discounts. Each signal can help predict what might make you buy. The unsettling shift is from asking, what is this product worth in the market? To asking, what price or promotion is most likely to work on this particular person? Those are not the same question, even if both are legal in many contexts. In New York, a state law now requires covered businesses to disclose when personal data is used in algorithmic pricing. The existence of that disclosure rule tells you how seriously policymakers are taking the issue. Again, do not leap from possibility to conspiracy. A changing online price may reflect inventory, location, timing, shipping, or a broad promotion rather than secret personal profiling. The honest position is narrower. Data-driven price differentiation is technically real, and regulators are actively examining it. For shoppers, the practical lesson is uncomfortable. Comparing prices may increasingly mean comparing channels too. The app price, website price, delivery price, loyalty price, and physical shelf price can differ for legitimate reasons, and sometimes the differences are easy to miss. That makes screenshots, unit prices, and cross-checking more useful than ever when a purchase matters. Not because everyone is being targeted, but because digital commerce makes price presentation flexible, fast, and difficult to remember after the screen changes. A generation grew up believing price tags were static facts. Now prices can behave more like software. Once that happens, the consumer's biggest weakness is not ignorance, it is exhaustion. And exhaustion is exactly what makes the next system work so well. Promotions that require you to do homework before buying toothpaste, cereal, or frozen vegetables. The modern coupon is rarely just a little rectangle you hand to a cashier. It can be an app button, account-specific offer, email code, manufacturer rebate, store reward, cashback deal, threshold discount, or multi-buy promotion stacked with its own rules. Each mechanism can produce real savings. The problem is the cognitive load. A household trying to minimize spending may need to compare regular price, sale price, unit price, required quantity, loyalty status, coupon eligibility, expiration date, and whether a cheaper substitute exists. That complexity changes behavior. A deal that says buy more can make the unit price look attractive while increasing the total amount leaving your checking account. If you would not have bought the extra item otherwise, the discount has also increased the sale. Multi-buy offers are especially clever because people mentally book the savings before asking whether they need the quantity. 3 boxes for a lower unit price feels responsible. 3 boxes that expire, go stale, or crowd out cheaper food can become expensive clutter. Coupons also create an anchor. Once a shopper sees a dramatic discount, the regular price can make the deal look irresistible. But the correct comparison is not discount versus list price. It is this product's final unit cost versus the best realistic alternative. Private labels complicate the equation further because a couponed national product can still cost more than the store version. A bright sale tag captures attention. A plain lower everyday price may sit quietly beside it. The sharp shopper therefore asks a boring question. What is the final cost for the amount I will actually use? That single sentence defeats a surprising number of promotions designed to make savings feel bigger than they are. None of this means sales are fake. Promotions can be excellent. Stocking up on a staple you definitely use can reduce future costs. The insanity is that getting a fair grocery bill can require the decision discipline of a procurement manager. Now add one more factor. The store itself is not a neutral warehouse. Where products sit, what you see first, what appears at eye level, and what waits near checkout can influence what ends up in the cart. Researchers test shelf placement, checkout displays, and end-of-aisle exposure because placement affects attention. In-store experiments show that moving products can change sales even when the product itself does not. That should not surprise anyone. Human beings buy with eyes, habits, hunger, and limited time. A product placed directly in your path requires less effort to notice than one hidden on a low shelf halfway down an aisle. The checkout lane is the perfect laboratory. You have finished making dozens of decisions. You are waiting. Small snacks and drinks are within reach. The price may look trivial compared with the total cart. Fatigue lowers the mental barrier to one more purchase. End caps work for a similar reason. They interrupt the aisle and create the visual language of a special event. Sometimes the item is genuinely discounted. Sometimes the location itself does most of the persuasive work. The display is not proof of value. Even shopping while hungry can change what feels reasonable. The list says dinner ingredients. The senses say bakery, chips, cold drink, something sweet for the drive home. The store does not need mind control. It only needs to make impulse convenient. Studies of healthier checkout designs show that many consumers support changing high-exposure areas. Placement does not control everyone, but the environment can nudge choices while each purchase still feels voluntary. That is the central tension of modern retail. Nobody forces you to pick up the extra item. Yet enormous effort goes into deciding what you see, when you see it, how the price is framed, and how easy the purchase feels. The best defense is not heroic willpower. It is reducing decisions. Shop with a list. Eat first. Compare the end cap with the normal shelf. Pause before checkout extras. A system built around impulse becomes weaker when the purchase was decided before you arrived. Then there is the shelf battle most people understand emotionally but rarely analyze financially. The famous package versus the plain store label sitting inches away. Private label products are not automatically cheap knockoffs. They are products sold under a retailer's own brand or controlled label, often positioned against national brands. USDA research has long documented that private labels can be priced substantially below national brands in many categories. Why can the gap exist? National brands may carry heavier advertising, promotion, distribution, and brand development costs. A store label can compete with less mass-market marketing and can give the retailer more control over positioning and margin. That does not mean every store brand item is identical to a national one. Recipes, ingredients, suppliers, package sizes, quality, and taste can differ. The sane move is not blind loyalty to either side. It is testing where the premium actually buys something you value. Some categories make comparison easy. Salt, sugar, basic canned goods, spices, cleaning staples, and simple ingredients can reveal how much people pay for familiarity. Other categories involve meaningful differences in formulation, performance, sourcing, or preference. The psychological part is powerful. A familiar logo can feel safer even when the shopper has never compared ingredients, weight, or performance. Years of advertising build familiarity that can outlast complaints about price. Retailers know this, which is why store labels have become more sophisticated. They are not always the cheapest tier anymore. Many stores now offer basic, mainstream, organic, gourmet, and premium private label lines, turning one retailer into several brands at once. That creates another trap. The phrase store brand no longer automatically means bargain. A premium private label can cost as much as, or more than, a mainstream national product. The same rule returns. Compare the item, not the category story. Price is information, but branding is emotion. When budgets tighten, separating the two can save money without lowering quality where the difference is mostly marketing. Where quality truly matters to you, paying more can be rational. The point is to make that choice consciously. Once stores learned they could sell trust, identity, and aspiration alongside food, the next step was obvious. Sell ordinary products with a premium story. Modern grocery aisles sell more than nourishment. Products signal clean living, high protein, craft quality, local identity, natural simplicity, energy, ethics, premium ingredients, or a lifestyle you are meant to recognize. Some of those claims describe real differences. Organic labeling, for example, is tied to federal production standards administered by the Department of Agriculture. But organic is not a magic synonym for low sugar, low calorie, or nutritionally superior in every comparison. That distinction matters because premium words can blur separate questions. How was the food produced? What ingredients are in it? What nutrients does it contain? How much does it cost? Does it taste better? Those are different questions, not one package-level verdict. A snack can be organic and still be a snack. A cereal can advertise protein and still contain ingredients you may not want. A beverage can look like wellness in a bottle while costing many times more per ounce than a simpler alternative. Premiumization works because people buy more than calories. They buy convenience, status, identity, ethics, novelty, and reassurance. Those values can be real. The mistake is paying for a halo without checking what it represents. Packaging helps. Matte colors, minimalist fonts, earth tones, resealable pouches, glass jars, and phrases about craft or function can make a product feel elevated before you read the nutrition panel or unit price. Design is not evidence, but it can feel like evidence. The most expensive item is not necessarily the best. The cheapest is not necessarily the smartest either. Value depends on what you need. But whenever a product asks for a premium, force it to answer one question. What exactly am I getting for the extra money? If the answer is better ingredients, better taste, verified sourcing, or a feature you care about, fine. If the answer is mostly a mood created by the front label, you may be buying marketing at grocery store interest rates without calling it debt. And speaking of paying extra for the same basic meal, nothing illustrates the price of modern convenience more clearly than ordering groceries or dinner through a phone. Delivery apps solve a real problem. They save time, help people without transportation, support busy households, and can be essential for some disabled or homebound customers. Convenience has value. The mistake is pretending that convenience arrives without a price structure. An app order can include a higher item price, delivery charge, service fee, small order fee, priority fee, taxes, and tip, depending on the platform, merchant, location, and order. Not every fee appears every time, but the final total can drift far from the menu impression. Restaurants and retailers may set different online prices to cover commissions or fulfillment costs, while promotions may offset some differences. The key is that food and the service of getting it to your door are separate economic things. Frictionless checkout can hide that separation. You tap saved items, accept a delivery window, add a tip, and pay with a stored card. The transaction feels effortless. The bank account still absorbs every layer. Algorithmic systems add another wrinkle. Regulators have questioned how online platforms test prices and promotions, and New York has specifically focused on disclosure when personal data influences algorithmic pricing. The technology makes experimentation faster than a paper menu ever could. The practical comparison is simple. Build the same basket for pickup, delivery, and direct purchase when possible. Check item prices, not just fees. A $0 delivery promotion can still be expensive if the underlying basket is priced differently. Convenience is not a scam merely because it costs more. The problem is opacity. A transparent premium lets you decide whether an hour of your time is worth the added expense. A fragmented premium makes you feel like you paid for food when you also paid for logistics. Once convenience becomes habitual, the premium stops feeling optional. That is how a service moves from occasional luxury to default infrastructure, and how a household can lose hundreds of small decision points without ever making one obviously reckless purchase. The same pattern exists inside the grocery store, where companies have learned that people will pay a remarkable amount to avoid washing, chopping, portioning, mixing, brewing, or waiting. Pre-cut fruit, single-serve snacks, bottled drinks, shredded cheese, microwave rice, prepared salads, snack packs, and ready meals can cost more per unit. The premium buys labor, packaging, portability, speed, and less preparation. Sometimes that premium is worth every cent. A person working 2 jobs may value 10 saved minutes more than a theoretical unit price victory. Someone with mobility limitations may need prepared ingredients. A small household may waste less with smaller portions. Convenience gets absurd when we stop noticing it. Water is put into tiny bottles. Cheese is sliced and wrapped. Vegetables are chopped, bagged, and marked up. We pay to outsource seconds of work, then wonder why the cart costs more. Again, the answer is not purity. Nobody needs to churn butter after work to prove financial discipline. The useful habit is to identify which convenience you truly value and which convenience you buy automatically because the store made it the easiest option. Small packages often lower the checkout price while raising the unit price. That creates a harsh paradox. Shoppers short on cash can pay more per unit because they cannot afford the larger upfront purchase. Bulk buying has the opposite trap. The unit price may be lower, but only if the product is used. If the larger pack creates waste, the economic advantage disappears. Cheap food in the trash is not cheap food. This is why budgeting advice that simply says, buy in bulk can be detached from reality. Storage space, transportation, cash flow, household size, spoilage, and cooking habits matter. A discount that assumes a giant freezer is not equally accessible to everyone. Convenience is therefore not one thing. It can be a rational purchase of time, an accessibility tool, a packaging tax, a waste reducer, or an impulse premium. The same product can be smart for one household and foolish for another. But at the national level, the direction is clear. Americans are spending an enormous share of food dollars on meals prepared outside the home, where convenience and service become part of the bill. USDA data show that food away from home took more than half of total food expenditures in 2025. The category includes restaurants and other food service outlets and has gained share over the long run. That does not mean most meals are eaten in restaurants. Expenditure share measures dollars, not meal count. Prepared food often costs more because the bill includes labor, rent, equipment, service, and convenience. Still, the shift says something important about modern life. We have built work schedules, commuting patterns, urban routines, and digital habits around buying prepared food. The economy saves us time by selling that time back to us at a markup. Takeout, drive-through, delivery, coffee runs, workplace lunches, and convenience store food turn eating into repeated small transactions. None looks catastrophic alone. Together, they can dominate flexible spending without feeling like one major decision. Frequency is the trick. People may agonize over a television bought once every few years, then barely notice a repeated lunch that costs far more over time. Large purchases feel dangerous. Recurring small ones stay quiet. USDA reports that Americans spent less than 1/10 of disposable personal income on food on average in 2025. That sounds manageable nationally, but averages hide large differences across incomes and households. A lower-income household can feel food prices much more intensely because necessities consume a larger share of available cash. A national average cannot tell you whether a parent has enough left after rent, transportation, childcare, medicine, and debt payments. This is another place where public debate goes wrong. One side points to aggregate affordability and says people are overreacting. Another points to painful receipts and says all official data are useless. The real economy contains both averages and unequal lived experiences. Understanding that difference makes the next example even more unsettling, because when cash is tight, modern commerce increasingly offers a solution that sounds painless. Do not pay the full amount now. Buy now. Pay later takes a retail purchase and splits it into installments, often 4 payments with no interest when paid as agreed. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says this form of credit expanded rapidly in the United States during the period it studied. The product can be useful. Spreading a necessary purchase across paychecks can help cash flow, and zero-interest terms can beat carrying a credit card balance. Trouble starts when routine consumption becomes a stack of future obligations. A $40 purchase feels different when the screen emphasizes a much smaller payment today. The total cost has not changed, but the mental frame has. That is the same reason car dealers talk about monthly payments. Smaller chunks can make a larger commitment feel easier. Now imagine several loans from different merchants landing on different dates. Each one looked manageable alone. Together, they compete with rent, groceries, utilities, and whatever surprise expense arrives next. The complexity itself becomes a financial risk. CFPB research has specifically examined loan stacking and the broader debt profiles of buy now, pay later users. That does not mean everyone who uses installment credit is in trouble. It means regulators consider repeated overlapping use important enough to measure. The cultural shift is the striking part. Financing used to signal a large durable purchase, a house, car, appliance, maybe furniture. Now the same installment logic can appear beside clothing, electronics, cosmetics, travel, and routine retail goods. When a society makes borrowing easier than waiting, the line between affordability and payment scheduling gets blurry. Something can fit this week's payment and still be unaffordable in the larger monthly budget. The safest question is brutally simple. Would I still buy this if the screen showed only the full price? If the answer is no, the installment offer may be changing the decision rather than merely changing the timing. And installment culture has a close cousin. Instead of splitting one purchase into future payments, the subscription model turns a purchase into a charge that keeps coming until you actively stop it. Subscriptions are excellent when they match repeated use. The problem is that recurring billing rewards forgetfulness. A company does not need you to love the service every month. It only needs the cancellation friction to exceed your motivation on the day you think about leaving. The Federal Trade Commission has documented dark patterns that hide fees, obscure recurring charges, steer choices, or complicate cancellation. Regulators treat these design tactics as a real consumer protection issue. Notice how modern spending keeps moving away from a clean exchange. The old model was product, price, payment, done. The new model can be trial, account, auto-renewal, stored card, upgrade prompt, premium tier, cancellation path, retention offer, and another charge next month. Free trials are powerful because zero changes the emotional calculation. People sign up intending to cancel. Then life happens. The reminder gets buried, the renewal date passes, and a service the customer barely uses becomes profitable precisely because it is easy to ignore. Businesses are not wrong to want predictable revenue. Consumers are not wrong to prefer convenience. The tension comes from asymmetry. Signing up can take seconds while leaving can demand passwords, menus, confirmations, surveys, or repeated offers to stay. Dark patterns work by exploiting ordinary human limits, not stupidity. People forget. They procrastinate, they skim, they choose defaults. A design that profits from those tendencies can remain technically voluntary while being deliberately difficult to navigate. The solution is not to swear off subscriptions. Audit them. Search bank and card statements for recurring charges. Cancel what you do not use. Prefer annual plans only when you are certain the service will remain valuable for the full period. Once you start looking for recurring charges, you notice the larger theme. Modern commerce is brilliant at turning attention, convenience, and inertia into revenue. The customer does not need to make one terrible decision. 100 tiny defaults can do the work. That brings us to the final contradiction, perhaps the strangest one of all. Americans worry intensely about food prices while an enormous amount of food still goes uneaten. USDA says food loss and waste in the United States is estimated at roughly 30 to 40% of the food supply, while also warning that no single measure captures the entire system perfectly. The scale is still staggering. Food disappears through spoilage, cosmetic standards, overproduction, damage, restaurant portions, confusing date labels, forgotten leftovers, and overbuying. Waste occurs across the supply chain, not only in home kitchens. This creates a brutal household paradox. A shopper can chase coupons, buy the larger package for a better unit price, load the refrigerator, forget what is inside, and throw part of the savings away a week later. Date labels add confusion. Except for infant formula, Federal rules generally do not treat most food date labels as a universal safety expiration system. Many dates are about quality, and misunderstanding them can contribute to discarding food that may still be wholesome. That does not mean ignoring food safety. Smell, storage conditions, product type, recalls, and proper handling matter. The point is that a vague fear of a printed date can turn paid-for food into garbage before it was necessarily unsafe. Food waste exposes the deepest flaw in this system. Companies benefit from more units, apps from more orders, and promotions from bigger baskets. Households benefit only when what they buy is actually used. That is why the most powerful saving strategy is not a coupon, loyalty hack, or viral shopping trick. It is reducing the number of times the market gets to make a decision for you. Plan meals. Compare unit prices. Use what you own. Delay optional purchases. Watch the pattern across all 15 examples. Slower inflation does not erase high prices. Packages shrink. Unit prices confuse. Discounts demand data. Promotions grow baskets. Store layouts nudge. Branding adds premiums. Convenience adds costs. Credit and subscriptions push decisions into the future. None of this proves society is collapsing. It proves our economy is extremely good at turning habits into transactions. The insanity begins when we stop asking which purchases solve real problems and which happen because attention ran out. So answer this in the comments. Which everyday price, fee, package change, loyalty trick, or convenience habit feels most absurd right now? Like the video, share it with someone watching their grocery bill, and tell us what you have noticed.